Howdy, with this video, number 10, I want to go over quoting, summarizing, and paraphrasing, how to actually put things into your essay when you want to use a source and put that source material into your essay. Again, everything I'm talking about is covered in this MLA lecture if you prefer to just read. It's not exciting reading, but I'm going to start right here with quoting, summarizing, and paraphrasing and show you the difference between short quote, long quote, summary, and paraphrase. To do that, I'm going to go back to that sample essay, and we're going to kind of notice, once again, hopefully before you try to start putting sources in your essay, you've done your works citus page. Again, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it for this self-regulated learner essay. They're actually fairly easy entries. When we get to the essays in Comp 1, things will get a little more complicated and all that, but that's that's in the future. We won't worry about that too much right now. But you want to make sure you have your works citus page, just a listing of sources you're going to use in your essay. And there's 4 different ways to use sources in an essay. One is a short quote. Short quotes are pretty easy to see because they have the quotation marks around them. A short quote is a direct quote, words taken directly from the source. Quotes should be word for word. You can show omissions with ellipses and changes with brackets, which we'll see here with the long quote. But right here we have a short quote. Researchers Michael Castle, Dolores Thompson, and Matthew Nason's report. The writer go ahead and gives a quote mark to begin. Gives a quote word for word from the source. Ends the quote. Gives the page number or the citation, and then the period comes after the citation there. And that's what a short quote should look like. Again, it's 3 or fewer lines with MLA formatting. You want to introduce all quotes and cite all quotes. So this is looking pretty good there. And again, I could go to the works citus page and see Michael Castle there and go to the page 37 of that source. And I'll see this direct quote, word for word, in that source there. So that's a short quote. But generally, quite a few students are kind of used to short quotes. Long quotes, a little bit different. We'll make this a little smaller. A long quote is 4 or more lines. And there are no quote marks on a long quote unless they're in the original, which we're not going to worry about right now. But right here is a long quote. Long quotes are sometimes called a block quote because they're blocked over, all at once to offset them within the essay. So long quotes are pretty easy to see. There's one here, and there's one here. They're the only things that get blocked off like this. So it's pretty easy to just look at it and say, hey, those are 2 long quotes there. Again, a long quote should be word for word. This is something taken directly from a source. And you want to introduce a quote, which is happening in the previous page. David Carroll, a writer who specializes in health and medicine, I think, explains in his book, When Your Loved One has Alzheimer's, how Alzheimer's affects a person's memory and personality. If you introduce a quote with a full sentence, you want a colon there. It's a nice way to get your colon in your essay. Then the writer gives a quote. Again, he's used the writer's name up here in the introduction, so that's the first word on the works citus page. And then here we have the page number from that source. Again, long quotes should be word for word. All quotes should be word for word. Just short quotes get the quote marks, and they're 3 or fewer lines. Long quotes are direct quotes, but they're 4 or more lines. You can use the ellipses here, the 3 dots, to show an omission from the quote. If something in there is kind of redundant or says the same thing, you might want to take it out and use the ellipses to show you took it out. Down here, the brackets show that she added or made a change to the quote. You can do that. You want to do it sparingly, but sometimes you might have to fix the grammar or clarify something within a quote. And that's what those brackets are doing there. Otherwise, these should be word for word. There's another use of brackets right there. Just to clarify something with a quote or make it more grammatical. They're handy dandy little tools. If you're watching the news and they're quoting Trump or Biden or any politician, you'll see news sources start using these ellipses, those 3 dots. That shows they've taken something out of the quote. Or they might use brackets to show a change or addition to the quote. And it's kind of interesting what they're changing about those quotes. Again, when you use a quote, you want to make sure you're using your sources accurately and fairly, right? And some news sources have gotten in trouble for not doing that. But that's what a long quote looks like. And again, they're the only ones that get tabbed over once in one whole block there. And as you look at that sample essay, you'll see my commentary on here kind of pointing a lot of this stuff out. A third way to use a source is a summary or as a summary. Summary is just you taking information, summarizing or condensing it, making it shorter in your own words and sentence structure. The reason you might want to do that is you might have a source that just goes on and on about something that has some little nugget of information in there. So you might just want to put that in your own words and sentence structure, but you still have to give credit to that source. So right here, looks like we have a summary. Dementia patients were often thought to be senile or crazy. They were confined to their houses and nursing homes and even in mental hospitals. That might have taken the original author 2 or 3 pages to say, and the writer of this essay said, hey, I can do that in 1 sentence or 2 sentences here. Please do that. You just don't want to give long quotes all the time and just wear the reader down. Sometimes you want to shorten things and just kind of get that information out real quickly and move on. But notice we still have the citation here. Again, you're citing using the first word on the works cited page and the page number if you have one. For the sources we're using for the self-regulated learner essay, there are no page numbers, really. So we're not going to worry about that. But I should go to that works cited page and see coping. And there it is, coping with the darkness. The reason coping is in quote marks is because it's an article title. On the works cited page, if there's no author, you'll just go to the next piece of information, which will be the website or, I'm sorry, the web page or the article title. And that's going to be in quote marks here. So we've seen the short quote, which gets the quote marks, a direct quote word for word, 3 or fewer lines. Long quote, a direct quote of 4 or more lines, blocked off, no quote marks. The summary, which is you putting the information in your own words and sentence structure, but it's still someone else's information, so you need to cite it using the first word on the works cited page. The last one is the one that just gives students headaches and nervous tics. As a paraphrase. Paraphrase is when you restate the author's information in your own words and sentence structure without even leaving out any of the main points. With a summary, it requires a little interpretation on your part. You might have to leave out some points just to get to the point you want. Still want to, again, use your sources fairly and accurately, but you may do a little, when you summarize, you have to take some things out. With the paraphrase, the idea is that you try not to take too much out because you just only want to restate what the author says. So if you're writing about brain surgery, a short quote's not going to cover the surgery. It's just not long enough. A long quote might get too technical, and I'll just write in the margin, hey, I'm an English teacher. This is getting a little too medicalese for me. The summary, if you do a summary in your own words and sentence structure, you're going to leave scalpels and sponges in someone's head. So you might have to do something like you might have to do a paraphrase where you restate all of the major steps of the essay, but in your own words and sentence structure to kind of dummy it down for the average reader, or at least for an English teacher like me. And that's what a paraphrase is good for. In terms of what it looks like in your essay, paraphrase doesn't look any different from a summary, but they tend to be longer and they tend to be a little more detailed. Again, the writer's trying to not leave out any information out of the original. So this passage here, it's cited. It's giving some pretty technical information about dates and things like that. So this is obviously either a summary or paraphrase. Looks like a paraphrase to me. It looks like a good one too. Restating the information in her own words and sentence structure, and then giving the citation telling us where that information came from down here. So she kind of did a paraphrase and followed it with a summary, and doing a good job there. But those are the 4 ways you can use a source in a paper. Again, short quote, long quote, summary, paraphrase. You want to try and make sure you're not confusing the two too much. So when we come down later in here, there are commonly 3 stages that are used to map the series of symptoms the patient usually incurs during the disease. Again, this essay is about Alzheimer's. First stage, moderate stage, and severe stage. Probably a summary there, shortening some information. This might have taken 3 or 4 pages. She just wanted to get this out pretty quickly. But she's using someone's information and citing that source, using the first word on the works cited space, and here she does have a page number. And as we go through the essay, you can kind of see this is going to be a summary or paraphrase. It's pretty short, so probably a summary. And you're going to kind of notice that. Be sure it's clear when you're moving to source material. If it's not clear, you might do a signal phrase, this like according to a 2-year study, yada, yada, yada. That according to a 2-year study is called a signal phrase, kind of indicating, hey, I'm moving on to a summary here. I'm going to get some information from the source real quickly. Then she goes back to her personal information. Here we got another paraphrase, it looks like, discussing the moderate stage of dementia. Looks like a paraphrase because it's longer. And kind of feels a little more detailed. And that's kind of how they work. And hopefully you can kind of start reading through the essay. Be sure to note the commentary on the side. That'll help a little bit. But if you see quote marks, I don't know if there's a short quote later on in this essay. Yep, there it is. If you see a short quote with the quote marks, I'm sorry, if you see quote marks, it's going to be a short quote. There's nothing else that gets quote marks. If it's offset, it's going to be the long quote. If it's just incorporated into the essay and the writer's own words of sentence structure, it's going to be a summary or paraphrase. And again, the idea of the difference between summary and paraphrase is a summary is shortening or condensing information. Paraphrase, you're restating and trying to leave in all the main details. All righty. Sorry for the gross old man sounds, but I'm getting to be an old man. If you have questions about it, be sure and let me know. I'll do one more video to show you what I want you to do with your essays. Basically, I want you to take that self-regulated learning handout and a video I've put on D2L and use those in your essay and do a short quote, long quote, summary, and paraphrase from them. But we'll talk about that here in the next video. But we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.